Let's start with first news. MMA analyst Luke Thomas is shutting down the idea of Islam making a run at a third UFC title, completely dismissing the possibility of the pound-for-pound king moving up to middleweight. Even though Islam has previously suggested he could eventually fight for gold at 185 pounds, Thomas believes the physical disadvantages are already becoming obvious. The veteran analyst pointed out that Islam is having a much harder time dominating natural welterweights, and he bluntly admitted that he wouldn't pick Islam to beat Sean Strickland right now. Thomas explained that Islam has enough skill to move up and succeed at 170 pounds, but he's reaching the limits of what he can physically do. While Islam may have the technical advantage over Strickland, the size and strength difference could completely change the matchup. Islam himself appeared to validate those concerns after his latest title defense. During his post-fight interview, he admitted that moving to 170 pounds has been a massive physical challenge. He acknowledged that the size, strength, and durability of natural welterweights make it much harder to finish opponents. Islam even admitted that he still needs to gain more weight to truly feel comfortable in the division. Thomas also argued that fans may not fully appreciate how impressive Islam's move to welterweight really is. Against JDM, Islam won the fight fairly, but Thomas believes he could have pushed harder for a finish. In his latest performance, Thomas felt Islam once again didn't do enough to completely dominate his opponent. And if the physical demands are already this difficult at welterweight, a move all the way up to 185 pounds against someone like Strickland could be an even bigger challenge. Move on to another news. Islam has responded to Max Holloway after the former champion made some interesting comments about him and his move to welterweight. Those comments eventually made their way back to Islam, who decided to fire back at Max on social media. Islam responded by writing, "I don't know, bro. It's even too heavy to hold, but you don't understand." Sorry, the response immediately caught the attention of MMA fans because Islam's message appeared to be a direct reaction to Max's comments. Rather than ignoring what was said, Islam chose to answer publicly, making it clear that he wasn't going to let the conversation pass without a response. The situation became even more interesting when footage surfaced showing Islam alongside Carlos Prates and Justin Gaethje's team. The footage quickly started circulating among fans, adding another layer of intrigue to the story. Islam has recently been making headlines because of his move to welterweight, and every interaction with another major UF fighter is now being closely watched. His transition to the new division has already generated plenty of discussion about potential matchups, especially against dangerous strikers. Max Holloway is also a major name in the UFC, so his comments about Islam naturally attracted attention. Whenever two elite fighters exchange comments publicly, fans immediately begin speculating about what could happen if their paths eventually cross. For Islam, however, the focus remains on establishing himself at welterweight. He has already shown that his grappling, control, and overall fight IQ can carry over to the heavier division, but the physical differences remain a major talking point. Now, with Islam responding directly to Max and footage appearing alongside Prates and Gaethje's team, the story has taken another interesting turn. Islam clearly isn't staying silent, and his latest response has only added more fuel to the ongoing conversation. Move on to another news. Islam has seemingly proved Daniel Cormier wrong after the UF's Hall of Famer joked about his physique following his move up to welterweight. Cormier recently suggested that Islam looked a little fat inside the octagon at 170 pounds. The comment was clearly meant as some friendly banter, but Islam wasn't about to let it slide. Instead of responding with words, Islam decided to answer in the most convincing way possible by showing off his physique. Following his latest fight, Islam was celebrating what had been another huge accomplishment in his career. He was talking with his team and proudly pointing out that he had now defended titles across 2 weight classes. In the footage, Islam appeared excited and confident as he celebrated his latest achievement. He even talked about breaking records and making history. Then, the conversation turned toward Cormier's comment. Cormier told Islam that he looked fat inside the octagon and joked that the move to welterweight had changed his appearance. Islam's reaction was priceless because instead of getting upset, he simply gave everyone a closer look at his body. The footage showed Islam lifting his shirt and revealing a clearly defined six-pack. That immediately changed the tone of the conversation. Cormier himself appeared to realize that his joke wasn't exactly accurate. After seeing Islam's physique up close, he basically admitted that Islam might not actually be fat after all. The moment quickly became entertaining for fans because Cormier had essentially called out Islam's appearance, only for Islam to respond with visual proof that he was still in incredible shape. This also highlights just how different Islam's body looks compared to when he was competing at lightweight. Moving up to welterweight means naturally carrying more size and muscle, and Islam has previously acknowledged that he still wants to add more weight to feel completely comfortable in the division. Despite that, he clearly isn't struggling to stay in elite condition. Islam has already made a massive statement by becoming a champion in another weight class, and now he's focused on defending that title and continuing to build his legacy. So while Cormier may have been joking about Islam looking fat at welterweight, Islam's six-pack provided a pretty strong response. The footage speaks for itself, and judging by Cormier's reaction, even he had to admit that Islam was looking anything but out of shape. Move on to another news. Islam's manager, Islam Makhachev, has shut down claims about what Islam's corner believed going into the 5th round of his latest fight. During the same conversation, Daniel Cormier asked Rizvan whether Islam's team genuinely believed the fight was tied 2-2 after 4 rounds. If you watched the fight, you may remember Islam's corner telling him after the 4th round that he needed to go all out because they believed the score was even. However, Rizvan completely rejected that interpretation and explained that, from his perspective, Islam was actually ahead on the scorecards. Rizvan said he believed Islam had won at least 3 rounds heading into the final stages of the fight. According to him, the situation wasn't about the corner thinking Islam was losing or that the fight was necessarily tied. Instead, there was another reason the coaches may have told Islam that he needed to push harder. Rizvan explained that sometimes a corner has to give a fighter extra motivation, even when they believe that fighter is already ahead. The goal is to make sure the fighter doesn't become comfortable and start assuming the victory is already secured. He basically suggested that telling Islam the fight was close was a strategy designed to keep him focused. Rizvan explained that if a fighter is told he's comfortably ahead after several rounds, there is always a possibility that he starts thinking about the lead instead of continuing to fight aggressively. That can be dangerous, especially in a championship fight where one bad round can completely change the result. So, according to Rizvan, Islam's corner wasn't necessarily giving him an accurate representation of their personal scorecard. They were trying to light a fire under him and make sure he continued fighting with urgency. This also explains why Islam came out for the final round with a clear sense of urgency. Even if his team believed he had already done enough to win 3 rounds, they didn't want him taking any chances. Rizvan's comments provide an interesting look into what happens behind the scenes between rounds. Coaches aren't always simply telling fighters what they think the judges are scoring. Sometimes they are using specific instructions to get the psychological response they need. In Islam's case, the message was simple: don't relax, don't assume you've won, and keep pushing until the final bell. Rizvan's explanation now gives fans a completely different perspective on the controversial 2-2 score discussion and what Islam's corner was actually trying to accomplish. Move on to another news. A huge controversy has erupted following Gillian Robertson's latest fight, and this time it had nothing to do with what happened inside the octagon. After the fight, Robertson's cornerman, Dean Thomas, appeared on a post-fight analysis show and announced that he was retiring from cornering fighters. He explained that he felt he had taken Robertson as far as he could. The timing of the announcement immediately caused backlash. Robertson had just suffered one of the biggest losses of her career, and many fans felt it was incredibly harsh for her coach to publicly announce his retirement while discussing her performance. The MMA community quickly went after Dean, with Sean Strickland leading the criticism. Strickland pointed out that he's been beaten throughout his career, competed across multiple weight classes, and even won 2 UFC titles. He argued that quitting is what makes someone a loser, and suggested that Dean's decision to retire was probably for the best. Strickland also defended Robertson, saying she went out there and tried to fight, only to be put down, and he criticized Dean for publicly placing the focus on himself. Marcel Dorff also called Dean out, saying he appeared to be making himself the main character. Dorff argued that a coach should stand behind their fighter during both the good and bad moments, while also criticizing the coaching Robertson received between rounds. Ben Davis shared a similar opinion. He said that while he likes Dean, going on television immediately after a fighter he's trained for more than a decade lost a UFC title fight and making the moment about himself was a bad decision. Others pointed out that Dean may genuinely believe Robertson has reached her ceiling, but they questioned why he needed to announce it publicly immediately after such a devastating defeat. Some even suggested that Dean should have taken responsibility himself, saying that if he believed he had failed Robertson, then stepping away could have been framed as taking accountability rather than blaming the situation. Another major criticism involved Dean admitting that he wasn't around while Robertson was cutting weight. Critics argued that supporting a fighter through one of the most difficult parts of fight week is an important responsibility for a coach. Will Harris also described the situation as whack, while John Anik called the comments awful and emphasized that the moment should have been about Robertson, not Dean. The backlash continued because many fans felt Robertson deserved support after the toughest loss of her career, not a public announcement that seemingly shifted the attention toward her coach. Move on to another news. Team Khabib head coach Javier Mendez has sent a clear warning to Ilia after Usman Nurmagomedov closed out his PF run as an undefeated and dominant lightweight champion. Usman now enters free agency in an extremely strong position, with Khabib and Javier Mendez publicly expressing their desire to secure the most lucrative and challenging path possible. A high-profile top-5 matchup for his UFC debut could be on the horizon, and one name continues to stand out. That name is Ilia. Ilia is currently focused on the very top of the lightweight division. While Usman is looking to prove that his dominance in the PFL can translate to the UFC. Although Ilia has previously dismissed Usman's credentials and questioned the strength of his resume, Team Khabib sees the matchup very differently. For Mendez, Ilia could be the toughest puzzle Usman would face. Speaking to Submission Radio, Mendez praised Ilia's boxing and admitted that the former champion presents a unique challenge. However, he also made it clear that Team Khabib believes they can eventually solve him. Mendez explained that Usman matches up extremely well with the other elite fighters in the division, but Ilia stands apart from the rest. He described him as the toughest opponent and the fighter he personally has the most respect for. At the same time, Mendez sounded extremely confident that his team could prepare Usman for the challenge. He essentially said that Ilia would be their toughest task, but they would figure out a way to beat him. One of the biggest reasons behind Mendez's confidence is the training environment Usman has at American Kickboxing Academy. Usman regularly trains alongside Islam, giving Mendez the opportunity to watch two elite lightweight fighters compete with each other in live rounds. Mendez explained that this is his secret. He doesn't claim to be some kind of genius coach. Instead, he gets to watch incredible fighters perform right in front of him. He previously watched Khabib and Islam train together and saw firsthand what made Islam capable of becoming the next ruler of the division. Now, Mendez has the same opportunity with Usman and Islam. By watching them constantly train, compete, and push each other, Mendez believes he has a unique understanding of what Usman can actually do inside the cage. That first-hand experience is exactly why he speaks with so much confidence about Usman's chances against Ilia. Move on to another news. A crazy behind-the-scenes story involving Islam and Conor has been revealed after Saudi power broker Turki Al-Sheikh reportedly put the two fighters on a phone call to discuss a potential blockbuster boxing matchup. Islam revealed that he was actually spending time with Al-Sheikh at a boxing event when the idea suddenly came up. Instead of going through a long negotiation process, Al-Sheikh decided to simply call Conor directly. The conversation immediately became interesting because the possibility of a massive crossover fight between the two superstars was brought up right there on the spot. According to Islam, Conor initially appeared to be open to the idea and indicated that he would be willing to make the fight happen. However, things didn't exactly turn into serious contract negotiations. Islam explained that the conversation quickly went in a different direction, with Conor laughing about the situation and the exchange becoming more disrespectful. Instead of discussing dates, locations, or financial details, the interaction reportedly turned into jokes and gestures. So, despite the phone call, there is currently no official fight agreement between Islam and Conor. However, the story doesn't end there. Islam also revealed that Alal Sheikh has separately made him a serious offer to make his professional boxing debut. According to Islam, the opportunity is there whenever he decides he's ready to step into the ring. That is a major development because Islam has never competed in professional boxing, but one of the most influential figures in combat sports is apparently willing to give him the opportunity. Islam, however, isn't pretending to be an elite boxer. The UFC champion has openly admitted that boxing isn't his strongest skill set, but he believes his striking has improved enough over the years to compete with other MMA fighters who have made the transition into boxing. That confidence is understandable when you consider how much time Islam has spent developing his striking alongside his world-class grappling. A crossover boxing appearance could also open up some massive financial opportunities for him, especially if a major name like Conor is involved. For now, though, the phone call between Islam and Conor appears to have been more of a wild moment than a serious negotiation. Still, the fact that Alal Sheikh is actively trying to make these kinds of fights happen shows that Islam's boxing debut could become a real possibility sooner rather than later.